Hi, hello, and happy summer! I hope you're all doing awesome and enjoying the warm weather. Or at least that you have a good AC to keep you cool. Personally, I'm not a summer person. I can't stand the heat, but, you know, it is what it is. Sure has been a while since I've uploaded something, huh? More than a whole entire year and a half, actually, which is kind of ridiculous to say out loud. But I promise this video will do its best to clear things up. If you've kept up with my socials, you probably had some idea that this video was coming, and you probably have some idea what I'm going to talk about. But for those who don't, we've got a lot to unpack. All good things, don't worry, but it will probably be a long one. So let's get started by talking about what I'll be drawing. The piece I'll be working on today is one that took a lot of thinking, and even a bit of collaboration, honestly. In the last video, I recorded the art before I had any idea what to talk about. This time it was the opposite. I had a topic in mind, and I also had it pretty fleshed out because it was based on an announcement that I'd made on my socials, but I really struggled to dream up an art piece that felt meaningful enough for the topic. So I doodled some concepts one afternoon, but I really wasn't sold on them. I even did a test color on my favorite one, but in the end, I decided that it didn't quite fit what I was going for. Eventually, I asked one of my close arty friends if he could sit down with me and brainstorm. We ended up spending a morning together doodling ideas until he cooked unbelievably hard and dropped an idea that clicked for me perfectly. So credit where credit is due for that. Thank you, Jay, for the concept. I'll make sure that I put his info in the description below. He specializes in drawing Sonic characters, and his work is usually pretty dynamic. If that sounds interesting to you, maybe it's worth having a look. Anyway, parts of this piece put me right in my element, but some things really challenged me too, especially on Via Pig's pose. I had to figure out how to draw her face at a view I've never even tried before, and the pose was a little more dynamic than I'm used to, because she's bending forward. I made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of edits to the anatomy before I was happy with the outcome. But I did get it in the end, at least to a point I'm happy with it. Now back to the topic of the video that I hinted at before. As you can see from checking out my channel, my last YouTube video came out at the tail end of 2024. And if you watched it, you know that I had plans to make a video about my rebrand from Mid-Mist to MudPuddle shortly thereafter. That video never came. It was a promise broken and a story untold. The truth is that I was going through a lot in my personal life at the time. I had a lot of family stuff going on. Mostly end-of-year holidays and celebrations, which were fun, but also a bit of hardship as well. Nothing insane, but pretty distracting nonetheless. I also had a really bad falling out with a friend. It happened a couple of months before the Halloween video, actually, but every time that I thought the conflict was over, it would ignite again. It would spark here and there several times during the first half of 2025. And all of that was on top of drawing commissions and rewards for my patrons. During the second half of the year, I participated in ARTFIGHT. It was a blast, and it ended up being my most successful year in my entire history of playing the game. For better or worse, that really made it exhausting too. So I took August to rest, and then I resumed commissions in September. When October rolled around, a friend of mine gave me the idea of participating in an Inktober type challenge. At first, I wasn't going to do it because I was still tired from ARTFIGHT, but the more I thought, the more fun it sounded. I ended up developing my own prompt list titled Inktober and getting right to work on it. Honestly, it was the most amazing project I've ever dedicated myself to doing, and I even had some artist friends participating in it with me as well. The pieces I made and the style I developed are some of my proudest work. They're a collection I look back on with pride. I even want to get them printed someday. The rest of the year went on as usual, commissions and rewards, and then suddenly it was 2026. Looking back, I really didn't have any time to sit down and focus on the video I'd promised you guys, and I kicked myself for that here and there. It's still a video I want to make, but it's definitely been put on the back burner for the time being. Now we're in 2026, so where have I been this year? Well, the answer is a little complicated. Over the past 4 months, I've actually been on a complete hiatus from art. It's not really something I announced publicly or that I mentioned much in passing. I just announced it to my patrons and close friends, and that was pretty much it. I stepped away from everything pretty quietly after that. I closed my commissions on VGen, paused the billing cycle on my Patreon, and I set my tablet down with no idea when I'd pick it up again. For that reason, things have been pretty dead silent on my end, in Discord and on my socials. I wanted to finally talk openly about that and the realizations I made during the break when I had nothing but time to think. At first, I really just needed a break. Like I said, I'd drawn a ton in 2025 and I was so unbelievably tired. I was so burnt out that even drawing Via Pig didn't spark any joy. And if you know me, you know that that's kind of an insane statement. I hated every moment that I spent creating, and so I've decided to finally allow myself the time and space to actually rest obligation-free. What started as a little break to recharge ended up becoming a period of prolonged reflection. I spent a super long time thinking about my relationship with art, as a child, a teenager, and in the current day. I put a lot of consideration into my career as a character designer and commission artist, and whether or not that was fulfilling for me. I thought a lot about what motivates me creatively, like the kind of artist I am now, and the kind of artist I want to be tomorrow, next month, next year, and for the rest of my life. It was honestly the most deeply I've ever thought about anything. One day, I asked myself if I was truly happy with this arrangement, and I realized that I wasn't. I've been doing commission work for 10 years now. Frankly, that's a huge portion of my life, more than a third of it actually. For a long time, commissions were kind of just what I did as an artist. It was fun to draw a wide variety of OCs, and it was a good way for me as a disabled person to make a bit of my own income. It was also what everyone else around me was doing, and DeviantArt made it pretty easy to manage. Over the years, doing commission work became the structure around my entire creative life. I started delving into character design too, custom stuff for clients and pre-mades for adopts. I did personal work too, of course, kind of a lot of it here and there, but my priority at the end of the day was always creating for others. So as time went on, I drew less and less for myself. There were years that my art summary was almost entirely paid work and character designs. Commissions and adopts have supported me for like a long time, and I'm genuinely grateful to everybody who trusted me with their characters and ideas over the decade I've offered my services. I've gotten to draw so many wonderful things for so many wonderful people, and although it's been hard, it has sustained me. I never thought much of it, but during my break this year, I started realizing that somewhere along the way, my relationship with art became heavily tied to obligation and left less and less time for me. Eventually, I finally admitted to myself that I've spent years trying to force myself into a workflow that fundamentally does not work for me. I've always struggled with fluctuating inspiration and creative energy to the detriment of my customers. It became a familiar cycle to me, one I've been in denial of for years. First, I'd be excited and I'd be super motivated and I'd be finishing commission after commission and taking more work to replace what I'd gotten done. And then all of a sudden, my inspiration would tank and my motivation right along with it. All of a sudden, I had all these tasks and no desire to do them at all. I'd sit on them for weeks and months with guilt building in my gut every single time I took a look down at my iPad. Sometimes I'd be able to push through the pieces eventually, but other times they'd drown me, and it kind of felt like the only way out was to refund my entire queue and start from zero. I'd make my customers wait for months just to disappoint them by admitting I couldn't do it. It felt horrible every time, but the cycle would just begin again. I'd go through this over and over, and each time I'd make adjustments to my process in hopes that they would help. Usually they did, but only for so long before I found myself sinking into the sea of demotivation all over again. It was never healthy for me, and it was never fair to my customers. I still don't really understand why they put up with it, but I'm very grateful that they did. During my hiatus this year, I had to really grapple with myself to accept the fact that I'm just not built for the constant schedules, recurring obligations, and nonstop output that being a commission artist requires. The money I earned from doing it was a huge positive, but it could never outweigh the emotional detriment that I dealt with after the fact. Before I move on though, I want to make it clear that none of what I've mentioned here is an excuse for my own bad practice. I never had any intention to be a bad commission artist, and I did my best not to be, but by being dishonest with myself about my own capabilities, I was letting down my clients, and I was letting myself down right alongside them. That wasn't fair to them, and it did so much damage to my relationship with art. It sucks to think about, and to admit that I was doing something wrong when I had the best of intentions, but I need to hold myself accountable for those things. I didn't listen to myself. And even though I did a great job sometimes, there were other times that I was undeniably irresponsible. For those who dealt with that, you have my sincerest apologies. And you also have my promise that I'll do better when and if I decide to take on paid work again in the future. My mental health also makes a pretty significant contribution to my creative inconsistencies. Depression, although I'm medicated, sometimes does still tank my motivation. I also have a dissociative disorder, which I might talk about in depth in a future video, which can cause me to feel disconnected from my identity and therefore my ability and desire to draw. For a really long time, I've been trying to hold myself to a standard of productivity that I didn't realize was slowly burning me out. That doesn't mean I'm incapable of creating, though. On the contrary, this hiatus reminded me how passionate I am about art and creativity. I love drawing. I've always loved drawing. And it's an enormous part of my identity as a whole. During the last 4 months, I've realized that there is an enormous difference between creating from genuine inspiration and creating under obligation. For me, in my circumstances, even though those things are close sometimes, they'll never feel the same. This is no one's fault, though. Nobody pushed me to do this. My commissioners have always been incredibly patient, which, like I said, I'm super grateful for. Nah, this has always been my decision. It just wasn't a good one for my needs and my workflow. The more honest I became with myself about that, the more I realized that I desperately need to build a healthier relationship with art if I want to keep loving it in the long term. All of that is to say, I don't really want my creative life to revolve around making art for other people anymore. It doesn't work for me as a constant, and the detriment outweighs the benefit of income. That doesn't mean I hate commissions, and it definitely doesn't mean I'll never open them again. Actually, I think I'm pretty capable of still enjoying commission work, but I need to make sure that I do it in moderation and don't allow it to consume me. I have every intention to open up for paid work now and again when I feel inspired, but I'll never let it define my artistic career again, and I'm certainly not gonna let it push me back into the cycle that I just clawed my way out of. I have to do what makes me happy, and I'm realizing now that the happiest and most creatively fulfilled I ever feel is when I'm making personal art. Especially when that art centers around ViaPig. Ever since I created her in 2023, something about art has felt fundamentally different to me. She unlocked a level of creative exploration that I genuinely have never experienced before. Through her, I've tried out styles, ideas, and experimented with emotions that I never would have had the opportunity, let alone courage, to touch otherwise. I'm a better artist when I draw ViaPig. And that really isn't something I can say about commissions in ode art. Until I created ViaPig, I'd been metaphorically fighting for my life to learn anthro, but she made it feel easy. I also wasn't big on experimentation. I liked drawing in a consistent, comfortable style, and I hated trying anything new. Honestly, ViaPig shattered that barrier for me. I've experimented more with her in 1 year than in my whole entire creative life before. She's been an awakening for me, really. She truly is my biggest inspiration, and the self-love that's come from her creation really makes my creativity soar. Drawing her unlocks a light and passion in me that I just have never reached drawing any other OC, even my own past personas. With ViaPig, I feel like I truly can reach any artistic height I want, and that feels so undeniably right. I think I've spent a long time subconsciously wishing that I could justify pursuing that more seriously. The truth is that I don't want to let my life revolve around commissions anymore. I don't want to only create for myself in the teeny tiny spaces between the work I owe to others. I want to pursue the kind of art that genuinely excites me. The kind that makes me experiment, improve, explore, and feel emotionally connected to what I'm making. That, I think, is where I'm gonna find fulfillment in my life. I think what I truly want, more than anything in the world, is to build a space where people support me because they enjoy my art, my characters, and the worlds and ideas I want to share. I don't want to be known for my adopts or the customized work I offer anymore. Those things are nice, and I enjoy doing them sometimes, like I said, but I want to make a name for myself for the amazing work I can achieve when I pour my heart and soul directly onto my canvas, with Via Pig at the center of it all. So moving forward, I'm going to be shifting my artistic direction to focus primarily on personal art, original content, and projects that feel creatively meaningful to me. Yes, that is going to mean fewer commissions overall. It's going to mean stepping away from obligation-focused Patreon awards, and it's going to mean I make fewer adopts. I know that's probably going to disappoint some people, but I really hope those people will understand. Honestly, this is a really scary change for me to make, and it's especially scary to talk about in such a tangible form. Commission work has been my safe structure for a very long time. It's what I'm known for and what I've built my audience around. Stepping outside of that feels vulnerable and uncertain. I know this decision is probably going to make things harder for me financially, and honestly, that's one of the things that I had to seriously consider. Art is still my only income, after all. Still, after spending months upon months reflecting on my relationship with art, I know I can't keep ignoring the part of myself that's been longing to create freely and boundlessly, and I don't even want to try anymore. I want to love art again in the way I did as a kid, and in the way that I know I'm capable of loving it now. I really believe that this is the direction I need to go to make that happen. Thank you to everyone who supported me up until this point, whether through commissions, Patreon, kind words, sharing my work, or just caring about what I make. It really means more to me than I can ever express. I hope you guys will stick around to see what my artistic future holds. Personally, I can't wait to share it with you. The artwork I've been drawing in this video is one I'm unspeakably proud of. It's the first proper piece of art that I've made since making the changes I've been talking about today. I poured my heart and soul into this piece, and I could feel the difference, both in the emotions I felt while working on it and the pride I feel looking at the finished product now. I truly believe that I can only continue to improve from here, and I'm so excited to see where I'll be at this time next year. If you're an artist who's going through anything like what I described, I encourage you to take a step back and consider what you want out of your artistic career. Consider what's best for your personal needs and your capabilities in the long run. You deserve to feel fulfilled in your pursuit of your passion, and if you're not, maybe it's time for a change. That's just my advice. Food for thought, I guess. I just have a couple more things to get out of the way before I sign off, so if we could just get through that real quick, I'd really appreciate it. Firstly, I have a quick announcement for you guys. This year, I plan to battle it out on ARTFIGHT again. Moving forward, ARTFIGHT is probably going to be the only other way to get art from me outside of my sparse commission openings. I'll have my profile link in the description below so that if you want, you can follow me and bookmark my piggies. I don't know if I'm going to go quite as hard as I did last year. I actually had a 100% revenge ratio, but I'm going to have a great time no matter what. I'm not sure what team I'll be on, since they haven't been announced as of recording this video, but no matter what I pick, I do friendly fire, so there's nothing to worry about there. I hope I'll get to battle a bunch of you next month by way of art gifting. As always, huge shout out to Forgana, Donnie2x4, Sparksy, and Sayori Moon, my Piggy Premium patrons, and also to all my other wonderful patrons. I love and appreciate you all. Your continued support enables me to keep pushing through anything that stands in the way of my creativity. Speaking of that, actually, my Patreon is pretty neat. I've got lots of fun benefits starting as low as $2. I post whips, time-lapse videos, and you'll see finished art before anyone else sees it. You'll also get access to a private category in my Discord server, and tons more at the higher tiers. I implore you to check it out if you're looking to support me in a more direct way. I don't make money off any of my content on any platforms otherwise, so it really helps me a whole ton. I also want to once again thank each and every person who's bought from me over the decade that I've been selling my work, and who have remained patient whenever I went through my ups and downs. It's been an amazing honor to work with you guys, and your continued support, despite my change in direction, is unbelievably special to me. I've got one last thing to say before we end it off, and it's a special thank you to one of my most cherished friends, Forgana. You are my fiercest supporter, and you have been for almost my entire artistic career. You've stood by me as a friend, supporter, and client through absolutely everything, no matter what. You cheer me on when I'm at my best, and you've met me with kindness and patience when I'm in a rut. You're the only person in the whole world who has seen me go through this artistic struggle as both my friend and a regular client, and that's so special to me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being there, for always understanding when I'm having a hard time, and always being patient with my delays. Thank you for always encouraging me to improve. All the words in every language in the whole world would never be enough to express how much all of those things mean to me. Much love, everyone, and thanks again for watching. I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like or a comment to appease the YouTube gods, and if you'd like to see my hopefully more frequent uploads in the future, subscribe. I won't make any promises this time, because moving forward, I'm gonna let my heart guide my content, and I don't know what it'll look like yet. But I can say that my goal is to create more video content now that I have the time and freedom to do so. I hope you'll like whatever future Via cooks up for you, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye, friends!